Oh my goodness, City Skylines? Is this an actual Transgender Architect video? I realized the last two were all the way back in the summer at the relative start of my channel. That said, City Skylines is a game where you wouldn't necessarily hit that record button until you are at least 100 hours into making your city. So what do I have for you guys today? This is a street racing city inspired by many of the old Need for Speed games that I love so very, very much, as well as some real-world cities I have been to, like Portland, Seattle, Sacramento, what have you. First thing you've probably noticed is this is a very clearly districted city, not unlike what you'd see in Underground 2, Most Wanted 05, or Carbon. If you were using this as a backdrop for a racing game, you'd likely start off in Grand Central, then expand outward to Arbora and the surrounding countryside. There's a wind farm, oil fields, a lot of fun stuff. You then cross the bridges to Riverview, that city center, Magical Land, etc., before going through the Ore District and the West End. It's very similar to Cole Harbor in Underground 2, for example. Finally, when you've hit all the necessary milestones, you'd head north up the mountains to districts like Truxell, Hemlock, Rosewood, and Pleasanton. Rosewood is of course named after Rosewood from Most Wanted, while Pleasanton is a parody of Silverton from Need for Speed Carbon. You may notice there is a final mountain road leading out of Pleasanton and back to a freeway which would take you out of the city. This is also an homage to Most Wanted and Carbon, where there is a lonely mountain road connecting the two cities. It's all pretty straightforward, so let's jump into the more technical bits. Obviously, we're using a lot of freeways here. You have the main one, which starts in Rosewood, because that's where all the government buildings are located. We'll call that Interstate 4, which you'll remember from Need for Speed Rivals. I probably should have named them in-game, but you know how it goes. So you have these underpasses where the interstate begins, and over them is State Route 37, which connects Pleasanton to Hemlock, bypassing Rosewood and keeping some traffic off I-4 also. There is one primary connection to link State Route 37, Business Route 37, and the lower section of I-4. This is a roundabout interchange because Rivals as well as Hot Pursuit 2010 leaned heavily into the concept. Granted, I made some tweaks to it and it works decently well. It goes without saying I am not an engineer. State Route 37 is mostly a straight shot from here, with only a few traffic intersections to connect with the Central Park, the district of Ulrich, the two avenues into Pleasanton proper. On the other side, State Route 37 forms a loop to become Business Route 37, and there is another tunnel connecting Hemlock to Truxell along what is known as Truxell Highway. Truxell Highway also goes over Interstate 4 and the nearby State Route 56 to drop you back into Grand Central. At the other end of I-4, south of Pleasanton, is another of these roundabout interchanges, but this one is much bigger because it serves as a trumpet connection between Pleasanton and the Grand Central Beltway at Arbora. There is another freeway here, which we'll call Interstate 7, Underground 2 reference. That's the interstate which goes all the way back around the mountain. And what's cool is we can run our railways through the median and wrap them around at both ends to connect Arbora with the Black Hills oil fields, so that's neat. The Grand Central Beltway was a bit annoying because its primary connection is State Route 56, and literally the most traffic in the entire city runs through State Route 56. Traffic coming down from Rosewood via Interstate 4 ends up at this T-junction, goes down the mountain, and ends up at this spaghetti bowl-inspired interchange in Grand Central. I'd say about 40% of the traffic keeps going straight through to Riverview, and then a whopping 30% makes a left-hand directional change to get to a major shopping center in Grand Central North. I had to rework this interchange literally for 10 hours straight to get it to a point where the underground tunnels worked correctly, and the twin loops eliminated traffic weaving by traffic going north. Basically, I needed to give all cars every opportunity to change lanes without forming congestion or traffic pileups. It works, but it was notoriously difficult and over-engineered. State Route 56 terminates in the Riverview City Center. This is where you see the Strip, so to speak, definitely inspired by Las Vegas. There are toll booths, another callback to Most Wanted, and at the end of the Strip is the start of Interstate 7. The West End Beltway connects I-7 through West End before looping back around and terminating at a third cargo train depot. So that means every industrial district in the city is linked by cargo train, and this outright eliminates the need for long-haul trucking at all. Because, as we all know, trucks are a street racer's worst enemy. So what are some of the takeaways from a city like this? Well, I'd say that since a lot of the freeways and expressways loop back on each other, there's a lot of really intricate circuit and sprint routing that can be done. The long stretches are great for drag events, obviously, and there are a few notable drift spots like the Dam, the Entertainment District, and I guess some of the beltways also because of their curves. But at the end of the day, this is still very much a city. It still needs to be livable on the day-to-day. That meant doing all the non-fun stuff like zoning for jobs to reduce unemployment, placing all your essential services like schools and public safety, doing your tourism considerations, which gets real expensive real fast, and of course trying to max out that land value. Just to give a broader perspective, the max area here is 36 square kilometers, or just shy of 14 square miles. I'm using about 60% of the land area here, so I would say about 8.5 square miles at most. Actual population density is around 6,000 people per square mile. That gives it a greater population density than the California state capital, Sacramento. Honestly, I'm very proud of how this one turned out, and I hope you all enjoyed it too. I'm sure the next cities video won't come out for another 6 months, so thank you for watching, and I will see you in games that don't require nearly 100 hours of prep time.